In 1957, Little Rock, Arkansas, like many other states, were going through segregation. White people did not like black people and did not think they were equal. They were not allowed to talk, mingle, or interact with each other. They did not use the same bathroom or ride the same buses or do anything together, especially not go to the same school. The Little Rock Nine was going to change those rights.
At one point in time in our country, schools were segregated. No white schools allowed black students or black teachers, but the Little Rock Nine are going to make a change.
The Little Rock Nine was a group of black students who was entered in an all-white school. These students escaped adversity, broke barriers of segregation, and accomplished great lives.
Summer of 1957, Little Rock, Arkansas was considered a moderate southern city. Things were pretty normal there as families began to prepare for a coming school year. However, the shocking truth was that civil rights struggle had come to Little Rock Central High
As
School.
civil rights pioneer Daisy Bates, these 9 brave Arkansas teenagers were the first to break through the barriers to become the first black students to attend Little Rock Central High.
The Little Rock Nine was a group of 9 black students who wanted and were determined to get a better education no matter what it took to get it. These students were the first students to go to an all-white school. The school was Central High in Little Rock, Arkansas. The school had to take on the responsibilities of choosing the students to go to the school and getting the rights straightened out with the government.
Many students were willing to go to the school and were determined to beat the odds and show they had the responsibility to go to the school. While choosing the students to go to Central High, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, had to choose very carefully. The students had to be hardworking, have good grades, and the right personality and attitude, and show that they had the right responsibility not to get overly upset or lash out at the comments kids would make in order to survive where they were not wanted. They knew that these students who were chosen were going to be tormented, insulted many times, and maybe even physically harmed. The school then had to meet with the students' parents and families to make sure they knew the rights they were earning and the responsibilities that they would have to endure. After the meetings with the families, they had 15 students drop out, saying it was not the right choice for them. Before school started, 7 more students backed out, deciding they did not want to go. That left 11 students who were going to try this new school. 2 students dropped out the first day because of people's comments and threats. That left 9 students who would change life in Arkansas dramatically. Out of the 9, only 1 was a senior, and his name was Ernest Green. 6 of the other students were juniors, like Elizabeth Eckford, Terrence Roberts, Minna Jean Brown, Gloria Ray, Thelma Mothershed, and Melba Patillo, and the last 2 were sophomores, Jefferson Thomas and Carlotta Walls. Many white people in Little Rock claimed that they were willing to commit violent acts to prevent black students from entering the school. The night before school started, Arkansas Governor Orville Faubus called on the Arkansas National Guard to keep the peace or not let the 9 black students from entering the school.
The National Guard wouldn't let the students in under the orders of Governor Faubus. He said, as the governor, it is his responsibility to keep his state in peace, which is why he ordered the National Guard to block the school doors and not to let any of the black students in.
The whites also had responsibilities, but theirs was completely different. They thought their responsibility was to take the blacks out of the society and keep it the way it was and not be integrated. The whites did not like the blacks and thought they were better and were going to prove it no matter what it took.
On the morning of September 4th, 1957, 7 students met near Daisy Bates' house to go to school together. The other 2 students, Melba Patillo and Elizabeth Eckford, were having trouble making it to school by themselves. Melba was chased by a mob to school, yelling and screaming at her that she was worthless and didn't belong in their school.
When the 7 students that went to school in a group got there, they were blocked by the National Guard and were told they weren't allowed in the school. When Elizabeth was headed to the school, there was a mob of people waiting for her at the end of the street. When she arrived, someone yelled, "Here she comes, someone get her." They started yelling insults and threats at her, saying they weren't going to let her in the school, and if they did, they were going to make her life a living hell. She wondered if she was going to even be able to get to school, which was a block away. With nearly 500 adults and other students around her, she was looking for a friendly face when a lady spit on her and then said, "I'm just waiting for one of you to dare touch me because I'm aching to punch someone in the face."
On the day of September 23rd, there was a mob of over 1,000 angry people standing outside of the school. When 4 black reporters arrived, the mob thought they were parents of the 9 who were entering the school today. The mob started pushing, kicking, and threw bricks at the reporters. They finally left the reporters alone once they learned that the students had already entered the school. Inside the school wasn't much better for the Little Rock Nine, though. At 11:30, the police barricades were broken and the students had to leave by themselves. They went through a back entrance. When the president heard the news, he said, "I will use the power of the United States and whatever force may be necessary to prevent the obstruction of law and carry out orders of the federal court." On September 24th, troopers of the 101st Airborne Division arrived in Little Rock. The students were informed that they would be attending the school again on September 25th with the troops' assistance. On September 25th, the students entered through the front doors with 20 troopers. Each of the 9 had their own escorts. The escorts were not allowed in the classrooms, bathrooms, or lunchrooms. The students were careful when they did not have their escorts with them. On September 26th, the governor declared his state an occupied territory. On October 1st, the national government replaced the 101st Airborne Division with the National Guard. Plans were made to slowly reduce the number of soldiers that were with the students. The responsibilities that took place during this point in time for Dwight D. Eisenhower were a handful. First, the president had the responsibility of keeping his country at peace, and he had to make sure nobody tried to change things. The 9 were tormented and harassed on a daily basis. They were tripped, shoved, spit on, called many names, and their feet were stepped on all the time.
The reaction from the desegregation was very mixed. The reaction from the black people was obvious. They were joyful, happy, and overwhelmed that they were actually getting some rights not to be segregated. The whites, however, in the South were very mad and upset that their children were now going to school with black girls and boys. People traveled hundreds of miles to Little Rock to join the mob outside of Central High. A white segregationist group called the Mothers League tried to file an injunction to prevent the integration of Central. The reform that allowed the Little Rock Nine had a huge impact on the education of African American students all around the country.
In May 1958, Ernest Green became the first black student to graduate from Central High School. The integration of schools was a very slow process in 1958. The Little Rock School Board wanted to postpone integration until 1961. They argued that military assistance was needed to control the situation and education process was disrupted after the injunction was denied. Governor Faubus closed all schools in Little Rock. Central High School was one of the first schools in the country to be integrated. It sparked a revolution of school integration in the South. Although the revolution of schools made people more equal, it did not change the white people's opinions about blacks.